This next tutorial is about how to use a rubric, how to create a rubric and grade with the rubric in Google Classroom. So first of all, let's create an assignment. And I'm not going to go through all the rest of the assignment. I'm going to skip right on down to creating a rubric. So I'm going to assume at this point you know how to attach all these documents and do all this other stuff. But before I start with the rubrics, I want to show you this quick little deal. Originality reports. It's really kind of a cool idea. You click in the box, and what it's going to do, it is going to check the originality of the submissions of your students, which is really nice. It really does a pretty thorough job. And whether you're trying to make sure that kids are not plagiarizing or trying to show the kids how much work that they should be doing in their own words. So if they put something in quotes and cite it, it's going to show that that isn't original. But again, that's fine if that's what you're teaching your kids to do. So anyway, the only downfall of this is you only get a certain amount of usage with this in your domain. So that's the only bad thing about that. Let's look at rubrics. So I can do one of three things. I can create a rubric, reuse one, or import from Google Sheets. So importing from Google Sheets would be just that. If I have a rubric created on a Google Sheet, I could import it. If I've already created a rubric, so if I use the same writing rubric, or if I'm using a rubric over and over, I can just do it once and then I can reuse that. But for our purposes, we're going to create a rubric from scratch. So first of all, I want to use the scoring of my rubric here. And so let's start with our first criterion, description. And I'm just typing these in really fast. I'm going to go make this 4 points. And this is going to be great. And you get the idea. I go to the next one, 3 points. All right, and there's your basic 4 point rubric. But if you have different criteria, if you have different levels of your rubric, you can have that here. So you add a new criterion and go. All right, so you get the idea here. So now when I'm done with my rubric here, I'm going to click here and hit save. It's going to attach it to my classroom. Now, one thing I do want to change, even though it will convert this for you, if you wanted your assignment to be out of 100 points and still use the 4 point rubric, you could. And when you put in those different levels, it will convert it. So for instance, if right, half of your score is on the first criteria and half is on the second. So if they got a 4 on the first criteria, it would count that as 50 points. And then if they got a 4 on the second criteria, so they got 100%, it would count that as the second 50 points. And that would be the kid's grade. If they got, let's say, a 3 on the first one, that would enter it as 3/4 of 50, right? And then if they got a 4 on the second criteria, so it would add up to be what 7 out of 10 would be, a 70%. All right. But I'm going to change this because I want it to be scored the same as my rubric level. So now my assignment is worth 8 points and my rubric is worth 8 points. So those two things are going to match up. I'm going to click assign and then I'm going to show you what it looks like while you're grading. Now, my students in this class aren't going to have anything turned in, so we're going to have to imagine that they had an essay turned in. So I'm going to open the first person's assignment. And if it was an essay, it would open up. I would be able to read it, but it's not there. But for our purposes, I want you just to show you the rubric here. So it's really easy. I can either come over here and enter the numbers, or I can choose whichever numbers I want. on either level, and then it'll give a total score, and it'll give their rubric scores, right? I can drop down and expand these so I can see what the actual criteria is, the descriptions, and I can minimize those. And that's it. That's your basic rubric scoring on Google Classroom.